going to get philosophical on this one, which is not a surprise. But does any of it matter? So I've been having a lot of conversations lately, and there's kind of this thread or this inherent kind of dichotomy or conflict that comes up often. And the way I put it is that I think we as humans, like to view a spectrum of nothing matters at all. It's all meaningless. None of our decisions actually matter. We have no real control. Things just happen, and your best bet is to just kind of not care and just go along with life, right? That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, no, it absolutely matters. Our decisions matter a ton. We have agency over our lives. Therefore, we should scrutinize and question and be deeply thoughtful about everything because the decisions we make really matter. And we're striving to optimize, to have the best life we can have. And we should strive and optimize for that. Therefore, to do that, we have to constantly be questioning and scrutinizing and challenging ourselves and thinking about if we did it the right way, if we should do it a different way. And you have those two sides of the spectrum. One who gives a shit, none of it matters, don't stress. The other, stress a ton because life is so important and every decision matters and all that. But there's a spectrum, right? And some people fall closer to not caring and some people fall closer to the other side. And I think most people, myself probably included to an extent for much of my life and maybe still, there's some comfort in believing that we sit somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. If you go too far to the one side, that just sounds bad and miserable and exhausting, and you're never really happy, and you're always chasing things, and you're questioning everything, and it's just like, ugh, I don't like that. And then on the other side, it's kind of this idea of, well, you don't care about anything then, and nothing actually matters to you, and it doesn't matter if you do right by your family or yourself or anything, and there's no real reason for motivation, and you really have no control. So it's just life is happening to you, and you kind of are just along for the ride, and that's not nice either. Nobody really likes that sentiment. So what most of us want to believe is that, I'm thoughtful and deliberate, and I think about my life, and I take the appropriate amount of action and rigor in my thought process to make good decisions, that I have some sense, I have some confidence that the decisions I'm making are the right decisions, but I don't stress about it too much. If I find something that feels good and right or makes me feel fulfilled or happy or whatever it is that I'm trying to optimize for a good life, I kind of go with that and I can feel good about that. But I don't have to over-question, I don't have to overanalyze, but I do have some control. And that may be true. That very well may be true. And I can understand why that is a comforting thought that most of us want to believe. My fear, though, is that it's bullshit. My fear is that it is one of those inconvenient truths, and I'm not saying this is necessarily true, but it's logically, I think it might be. It's an inconvenient truth to acknowledge that there is not a spectrum. Logically, it is in fact binary. You have to believe one or the other. And the acknowledgement of that makes people super uncomfortable, and they do not want to believe that. Now, let me say why I think it might be binary, logically why I think that might be true. If you are optimizing for something, if you believe and you acknowledge that in life, there's something that I want. Again, it could be purpose, fulfillment, happiness, some general sense of goodness that we're striving for, right? If you wake up every day and you have some intention in what you do, you go play golf, or you go to jiu-jitsu class, or you work on your startup, or you spend time with your family, and you do that deliberately. You do it because there's some motivation and incentive to do so. It makes you feel good. And as you go about your day, you make decisions to, hey, you know what? I'm not going to schedule that meeting at 9 o'clock tonight because I want to go spend time with my family, because you're consciously deciding there's something I'm going for. To me, there's a value system, right? Very much in line with my podcast. What's the value? There's a value system that says this thing is more important. Or it could be, I'm not going to go out drinking with my friends tonight because I want to stay home and work on my business plan. Because you're striving towards something. You're trying to get to something. You're trying to optimize. I would argue, as soon as you do that, as soon as you enter that into your mind and your lifestyle, you've now hit that side of that binary decision where you are trying to optimize. And the only logical thing you can do then is question and analyze and think through it, because there is some optimal thing you're trying to get to. There is something you're trying to reach, right? That's going to bring you some happiness, success, goodness. And the only logical thing to do then is to question and examine and be super thoughtful about your decisions, because your decisions matter. Maybe going out for drinks with your friends, maybe in that you're gonna come up with some new idea, or you're gonna network and meet somebody that's gonna help with your business plan. Versus if you stay home, well, the benefit is you get to get more work done, but you miss it. Those types of thoughts, you have to be asking those questions. You have to be, logically, because you care about launching that business and being successful. So you have to consider, what is my best path to get there? And you would be naive to think that if you're not super thoughtful about it, that you're gonna get to the optimal path. Just logically, if you're striving for something, you have to figure out the best way to get there. And that's through thinking and challenging and questioning. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, or I should say not a spectrum, the other binary decision is you acknowledge the idea that, you know what, I could think about all that stuff till I'm blue in the face. I could think about, well, maybe I'll meet somebody at the bar if I go out with my friends and it's gonna help, but maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just get drunk and hungover and it's gonna slow me down. And you can go, and all the different decisions, right, that you can go with. Well, maybe I'll be happier and more relaxed if I go out with my friends and that's actually gonna help me build the business more successfully. Or again, maybe I'm gonna go and have some drama, or maybe I'll meet somebody there and get into a relationship and that's gonna slow me, and on and on and on. You can question all this stuff. And at the end of the day, we have very little control, or at least ability to see that how the decisions we make are gonna play out. If you extend the time horizon long enough, who knows if a decision is a good decision or a bad decision? Who knows how it's gonna play out at the end of the day? The reality is we don't. We're guessing, frankly. We're giving our best guess. Therefore, I land on the other binary decision. I actually don't know. I have no control over this. I should just flip a coin and decide to either go out for drinks with my friends or work on the business plan, because it doesn't ultimately matter. Or it may matter, but I'll never know if I made the right decision or not. So I'm not gonna make pretend. I'm just gonna do. I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna go. Logically, I think one of those has to be true. There is no middle. This idea of a middle where you say, okay, I'll think about it for 20 minutes and I'll consider the pros and cons of going out for drinks with my friends or staying home and writing the business plan. And I'll assess it, and maybe I'll even ask a friend what they think, and I'll kind of take in this input. And based on that, I'll make my decision, and I won't overstress about it, right? There's that spectrum coming back in, and I'm gonna be in the middle. But again, I think I call bullshit, because I can understand why that activity, that 20 minutes of thinking about it and asking a friend and being thoughtful, it's not a bad thing necessarily. And I can understand why that can make you feel like, hey, I'm checking the box. I'm doing enough work to be thoughtful and deliberate, and I care, and my decisions matter, but I'm not overthinking it. That's the sweet spot. But I think that's a lie we tell ourselves. I think that makes us feel better. I think in that scenario, we're still just guessing. It's incomplete information. But exactly what I was saying before, that 20 minutes is in effect meaningless. It doesn't actually tell us anything with any certainty or confidence. It just gives us the illusion of that. It gives us the illusion and the mirage that we've done the work to feel comfortable and feel like we're in control, when in reality, we're not. Because there's so many other factors and variables at play that you need to be considering. There's so many things you can question about how you're assessing it, the person you asked, their input, what their background is, their bias. There's so many things to dissect. And that's why most people don't want to go to that binary choice of questioning everything, because it seems too hard and frankly, maybe not even beneficial. So then logically you have to go to the other side, which is, well, then none of it actually matters. But we don't like either of those. So we tell ourselves this kind of little white lie, this convenient white lie possibly, that makes us feel better, even though we are ultimately still just guessing at life. And there's something so uncomfortable, and almost there's like a visceral reaction that people have where like they refuse to accept that. And I don't blame them, and I may be similar. But I have to believe in the spirit. I reference this quote a lot in the reference in the quote of Immanuel Kant, "If the truth shall kill them, let them die," which is a harsh quote, but the idea being like, I think we have to accept the truth. I think we have to accept if we're just guessing and actually we have no control over this and we're just making pretend we do. I think we're better off knowing that, acknowledging that, and or right, if we are trying to be on that other side and the other binary choice, which is question and think through all of it, that either A, it's never going to lead us to an answer, so there's actually no benefit to that, or B, maybe that is the best way. Maybe it's the closest way we can get to actually having some control, is trying to think through all of it as best we can. Again, both of those don't seem like good choices, but it's possible those are the only two choices we have.